Hey CURIO friends, today I wanted to talk to you about painting on glass. So we offer a couple really cool kits that deal with painting for adults on a glass like this with a stem. We also have ones that are stemless, or we have kits for kids and adults too that are painting on a mug. We also offer those as physical classes too if you ever want to join one or book a private event too. So painting on something like this kind of surface is really different than painting on a canvas, and it comes with some different tools. So I wanted to take a few minutes to talk to you about what some of the different items are, some different ideas that you can use, whether you come into the studio and make something or whether you'd buy the kit and do it at home, and just give you some ideas and jumping points to be able to think of how to do a really cool project and create it yourself at home. So a couple of things that are different with this kit is that it comes with rubbing alcohol, and this is to clean your glassware and also to use as an eraser. So if I'm doing the mug, then I'm going to want to put my cotton ball into some of the rubbing alcohol, kind of squeeze that out because we don't want it super sloppy and dripping, but we always wrap these for you in some paper. So what you want to do is you want to get the oils that are on it off from fingers touching them. You want to get all the dust and debris off of it so that the paint will adhere to your surface really well. If you're doing one of the glasses with a stem, then you want to make sure that you get all of this off. Make sure that's really nice and clean. And the tricky part, the super hard part from now on, is making sure that you don't touch the areas that you just cleaned, because your fingers, even though you wash your hands often, your hands will leave some kind of oily residue on them. So if you're painting with this, you want to make sure you kind of keep touching the bottom or holding it by the stem. And if you're working with a mug, you want to try to keep holding it by the handle instead of touching it with your fingers. If you want to, you are more than welcome to kind of have a hand that'll be doing all the painting and then a hand that's kind of touching your project. And you could always use a glove if you want to. That way, anytime you touch your project, you're not leaving fingerprints on it and you're keeping everything nice and clean. So that's an option for you too. I think I'm gonna leave my glove on while I do my tutorial today. So now that this is clean, let it dry just a little bit because you don't want your paint to smear. But this is going to kind of be your eraser, and that is what your Q-tip is for, and your cotton ball, which of course at home, if you have extras, you can always use those too. So these are going to become our erasers for if we make any mistakes, which happens from time to time. So the couple tools that came with your kit are a pencil for making polka dots, a paintbrush, of course, for painting. And if you're doing something where you're covering a lot of space, you're more than welcome to use a larger brush. You just want it to be soft. You don't want it to be a very stiff or coarse brush whenever you're using it. So one thing that I like to do with the mugs that I think is very successful, also on the glasses too, are polka dots. And the kits come with some different colors, kind of a little bit more brighter, kind of fun poppy colors for kids, a little bit more classy, sophisticated colors for adults, but you can still mix this paint to mix colors in between if you want to, but this is all a special glassware paint, so it is a little bit different than regular acrylic paint. So what I like to do is I like to make some polka dots sometimes. Actually, I think I'm gonna do it on here as an example first. So something that I like to do is I like to use the eraser and I like to make a polka dot. And I always like to practice on the paper like this that you hopefully still rolled out as your messy mat. And it's a little tricky because paper is flat, your cup and glass is rounded, so it does take a little bit of time. You have to go a little bit slower, and you want to make sure you're taking your time and putting your polka dot down gently. So kind of stick that down there. And what I highly recommend is looking online for tons of examples, because there are so many cool things that you can do. It's kind of overwhelming, but one thing that I think and I like to suggest that's always kind of a tried and true, always looks good, are these little polka dots. And I like to put them so that there's more polka dots at the bottom, and then it gets less and less as it goes up towards the top. So it's kind of like it's like a drink with like fizz to it, where all the fizziness looks like there's more at the bottom, and then it slowly gets bigger and bigger and kind of dissipates and gets further apart at the top. So any age group can do this. Here's a couple things you want to look out for. You don't want to put so much paint on that it has a big, giant, like kind of blob in the middle. So if you get that, you might want to go back over it and just kind of flatten out that little piece that sticks up a little bit. You also don't want to go so fast and do so many that you're missing the middle also. So you have to kind of play around with that balance between making sure you have enough, but not too much. You could always, let's say you're working on this, and you messed up, you could always go back and remember that this is an eraser. Get a little bit of that rubbing alcohol on there and erase it. It'll always kind of come off, even if it's dried. This will come off with rubbing alcohol until we kind of go through the curing process. So kids can do this, adults can do it. If you want some different sizes of polka dots, you could even use the pack of your paintbrush if you want to. And you could do some little polka dots with the back of your paintbrush to make it look really cute. Think about where your mouth is going to go, because you don't want to put paint all the way up at the very tippy top. So keep that in mind too. A lot of other options would be you could actually draw something on paper, or you could print something out if you want to. And what you could do with that is you could actually take your paper, you could put it inside, and that would actually help you if there was a certain image you wanted to do. This would help you to be able to follow that image along. So let's say I wanted to make this look like a heart. I could now kind of follow my lines, or I could follow my picture so it turns out exactly the way I want it to, and I could kind of follow what I put inside, whether I print it out or drawing. Another thing that I can do too is, for those of you that have like a Cricut or a Silhouette machine, you could always take a piece of vinyl. You could, of course, cut it out on your Cricut, any kind of design. I'll just stick with the heart shape because that's what we're using for the other one. So let's say I'm doing my mug and I have a really small kiddo and I'm not really sure what direction they're gonna go with it, but I'd like to make sure that in the end there's some kind of heart, or maybe something that says like Mom or Grammy or something like that. You could take this, you could cut something out of your Cricut and peel that vinyl off. Okay, let's see if I can get it and how long that takes, or if I'm gonna have to fast forward my video. You can put this on your mug, anywhere you want it to go. A little tricky because this is rounded. So let's say I want my mug to have a heart on it. Okay, it's a little crooked, but we're gonna just keep going. And I could actually still do these polka dots if I want to, but if I start to do these polka dots with different colors, this will actually like block out my color so that I'll be able to see that there's a heart at the end of it. So if I wanted to do something like a letter, if I wanted to do it for, I actually did one like this for a teacher, for my daughter, for part of a Christmas gift. And we just cut out the first letter of her last name there and my daughter did all kinds of polka dots on it. And then we gave it to her and used the colors of the school. So everywhere that you are putting polka dots, we'll be able to see the polka dots and it'll kind of start to block out the letter. Switching colors, just kind of wipe that off a little bit. I'm gonna do some of this green next. So let's say we keep doing these polka dots everywhere. Once we get to the point where it's all finished, we should be able to remove that heart and it'll have kind of a heart shape to it. So let's say, I don't know, let's just say I was done. I could take that off while it's still wet a little bit. And since I didn't finish it all the way, but you could kind of see where it would be able to show the heart. Remember, if you make those little mistakes, all people do, it's normal. We're not perfect. You could always use that little eraser. One thing I like to do on mugs a lot also are different themes that are kind of summery or springtimey. So I like to do stuff too where maybe you take your paintbrush, or your kids can take paintbrushes and they can do some grass that comes up like this. You can absolutely brush anything you want onto your project. Sometimes though, especially with the see-through glass, it just takes a couple layers, and you can always mix to create new colors. So I can make this a little bit of a darker green or bluishy green by adding some blue to it, and get some different lines in here. And you could do things like flowers. You could have kids do really any kind of image you could think of. Make sure you dry your brush in between so it's not super soggy and smeary. So let's say we do like the old school tulip that you learned how to draw ages ago. A little zigzag up front there. So that could be something you choose to do. Making some cute flowers. This flower is getting very big. And of course we have to attach him down to the ground. I left room up here for my mouth, so that's important. Oh, there we go. Now he's attached. Give him a little leaf maybe. So cute. And one of my favorite things with small kiddos is to capture their fingerprints. Something I love to do with them is to make little butterflies with fingerprints. My fingers are obviously way larger than a child's here, but let's say you're making this for someone in your family. You know, you could always have them dip their finger, make a little fingerprint here. This is how we did the Christmas lights. We used these as the light bulbs and then added string to it in winter. And they could even, if you want to, they could make the butterfly's wings out of more fingerprints, or they could draw it on. So you have like some little butterfly wings there, which is cute. You could add little antennas if you want to with it also. Something that's really great if you happen to be like at Michael's are these Sharpies. I use the ones that are oil-based for whenever we do things with our mugs and our glasses, but you could give this little antennas instead of trying to paint it on. They cover really nicely. They're a little more expensive, but they do last a long time, which is nice. But this is how, you know, maybe if you made a little bee and you wanted to have some dotted lines to make it look real cute, this would be a great way, even if you wanted to on something like this, to write like cheers, or on the bottom, sometimes people do personalized wording or names or something like that too. So this is just a quick tutorial to kind of help you guys out with some different ideas on how to do some glassware. The most important thing with your glassware is the curing of it. So you have two options. You can either let these sit for 30 days and it'll dry and the paint will become permanent, or you can do a cooking process. So you can put them in the oven without the oven on, turn on the oven to 350 and let them bake for about 20 minutes, and then turn the oven off. Don't open the oven until everything has cooled back down. And then these will be ready to use, and that's kind of the curing process with them. And these are hand wash only. You will have some crying family members if you put those in the dishwasher, because even though it is permanent, the pulse and the amount of water that comes through the dishwasher will make this paint chip off. So remember that they're hand wash only after you cure them, either in the oven or for 30 days you let them sit, and the directions for curing comes all in the video and in the kits as well. Or if you come to a class, we'll give those to you too. So have an awesome time, do a girls' night out, have a fun kids event, make some gifts for people, enjoy it, create it yourself, and make sure you tag us at CURIO Cool on Facebook or Instagram once you complete your awesome picture. For more kits, visit CurioCool.com.